So I'm sure most of you have played or tried to play a sport before in your life. And trying to learn a new sport kind of sucks because you need to know all the fundamentals and basics before you can get to do the fun, exciting things. But learning these fundamentals the proper way is so crucial. I'm going to tell you why learning these fundamentals is so crucial through a personal story. Then I'm going to show you how to do proper fundamentals, and then I'm going to finish off with what can happen if you don't do the proper fundamentals. So my personal story is when you do something for long enough, you kind of get stuck in your ways of doing it, and that's what happened to me in throwing. I threw sidearm as a kid, and then when it got into the more competitive level, I was scolded and yelled at to change my throw, and I tried, but I didn't try hard enough because I always resorted back to my sidearm throw, and now I have injured my shoulder to the point where I can barely throw a softball. If I would have worked a little bit harder for a little bit longer, I'd still be able to throw a softball around just for fun if I wanted to. Now that you've heard my personal story, I'm going to demonstrate the proper mechanics for throwing and hitting. Throwing a softball is pretty basic. It doesn't have nearly as many mechanics, but it's the most important to make sure you do it perfectly. Otherwise, you will get injuries, and it could range from any kind of injury. There's so many from bad throwing. So to throw, I'm lefty, so I'm going to demonstrate the left-handed way. To throw, you have the ball in your glove, and you lean back and separate. So you lean back and separate, and you have your hand pointed this way with your elbow pointed that way. And then you turn your hips, and the elbow follows, and then you release the ball. And you want to release the ball like that. So it's just like that. The way I threw was sidearm, where it's which my wrist went like that, and my elbow came out way before my hand. Now for batting. For batting, I'm just going to show you the basics because there's so many fundamentals I could literally go on for hours about it. So you're standing there with the bat, and when the pitcher winds up and the ball's coming at you, you lean back, you transfer your weight. And then for the rotational swing, you lean back, you just take a step and plant your foot before you swing. And then when you start your swing, you pivot the back foot led by your hips first. So there goes hips, then like that, and your hands come out, and then they push the ball. You don't want to go like that. You want to push the ball. Gives it a little extra oomph. And you push the ball out as far as you can go, and then you finally come around when your arm will no longer go out any straighter. For the second style of batting, it's called the linear style. And it's similar to the rotational in every way except for the very beginning. It's more of a rhythm. I did the rotational because I had no rhythm, but for some people this works very well. So when you load, instead of taking the step before you start your swing, you take the step while you're swinging. Some people claim it gives them a little extra oomph, and I can see why. So it's the same. You just load back, take your step and go with the pivot at the same time. Hands out, out, push, follow through. So it looks like this. So now that you know the proper mechanics and how I didn't do the proper mechanics, I'm going to tell you what can happen. For me, with the way I threw, my rotator cuff is shot. The bursa sac and tendons, they're supposed to work as cushions for the ball and joint socket, are inflamed and no longer work. So when I throw, it's like bone on bone in there. I also have tendonitis in my wrist, and I have tendonitis that comes and goes in my elbow. So when I throw, it's just a sharp shooting pain. And it gets so bad that I used to take 5 or 6 Advils before each game so I could throw the ball a little bit. As far as batting, if you have bad mechanics, it's not really going to injure you. You're just not going to hit the ball. Throwing, less mechanics, but you have to have them perfectly, otherwise you get injured. Batting, thousands of mechanics, you won't get injured, but you won't hit the ball. Which, either one, you're not going to go very far in your sports career if you have either of those problems. So now I've told you about my personal story with softball, the proper and improper ways to do mechanics, and what can happen if you have bad mechanics. Just remember that fundamentals, even though they're boring, they're there for a reason. Don't be like me and ignore them, because taking as much medicine as I did probably isn't healthy for you.